Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Yes, we're back. We've done a show every day. Didn't miss one. Today's day is Tuesday, the 23rd of September, 2025. The year BSV comes alive. Branch your threads, expand your mind with treechat.ai or your post put on chain. Right, let's see what we've got today. We've got to go over these posts here from Luke Dash Jr. Honestly, this just keeps getting better. Look, false. He says here, Core is a fork of Satoshi's original Bitcoin. Satoshi himself never worked on Core. There's more. There's more. There is only one Bitcoin. I was like, yeah. And that's Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV. Some other bits here. Yeah, look, 10,000 BTC will transfer from unknown wallet to unknown wallet. And the guy from the Unemployable Media podcast has actually put out a pinned post because the guy that looked like Dr. Evil that refused to answer the question about the number one legacy address didn't answer it. So everyone's just like, look, what? Tell me what's the answer. So he ended up using ChatGTP for an answer because he couldn't answer it himself. Someone's moved 17,000 BTC from Kraken to unknown wallet. More from Luke Dash Jr. saying there is no such thing as Bitcoin version 3.0. Core is not Bitcoin. Cheers, mate. And then Samsung has been talking. BlackRock, they just sold $980 million of BTC. And this was, they said 5 hours ago. So that was like 7:41 a.m. this morning. And look, they're all the BC addresses. Look, they're all the SegWit addresses they're getting rid of. Oof. Could they know something? Yep. They knew it was going to happen. So, yeah, quite a few things to go through on there. We'll actually read his expression there absolutely cracks me up. We'll actually read the pinned post here. Go through that with some him and talk about it as we go through it. Then we'll just go through the figures as per usual. And Gate.io, which is a relatively small exchange, only a turnover of 118,000 BSV. Look, they're actually now sponsoring Formula One. Actually, look at that on the either side of the driver and on the fin at the back. I mean, these exchanges are absolutely raking in. It is crazy, and they do nothing. They just function 24/7. We've got some 365 days of Bitcoin history, and then we'll finish with a calendar countdown. Right, let's get into it.
Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Here we go. Right, let's start off with this one. So I think I've probably reported on this one already, but he's just added to it. He said when someone said Core has always been a Bitcoin, Core was the initial release. It included the CPU miner in it as well. Luke Dash Jr. said false. Core is a fork of Satoshi's original Bitcoin. Satoshi himself never worked on Core. Yep, there's only one Bitcoin. Indeed, there is only one Bitcoin with the number one legacy address, and that is BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Alright, let's get on to this. Look at that, Britain paying the highest electricity prices in the world. And I think one of the ministers admitted that 75% was going in tax. Honestly, it's just an absolute joke what's going on. More large quantities of BTC moving. Like 10,000 BTC representing $1.1 billion. $1.1 billion. That is insane. That is insane. $1.1 billion transferred from unknown wallet to unknown wallet. You know, something's on the move. This was the update. So what Bitcoin does said update after the Bitcoin Way guy dodged Satoshi's claim. That was my claim. The video uploader had to pin this due to so many people pointing it out. He used ChatGPT and it confirms that BTC isn't Bitcoin. Looking forward to that one. 17,000 BTC has been moved. More from Luke Dash Jr. There's no such thing as Bitcoin version 3.0. Core is not Bitcoin. You know. And let's listen to this podcast from Samsung Mao. So he indirectly admits that he knew full well about how Bitcoin was meant to scale. Have a listen to this.
as a Bitcoin transacting user of the network, you're paying fees to send your transactions, right? And a spammer also pays fees. But what we did during the block size war is we changed that whole dynamic. We changed the unit economics. But I think at the time, everyone was thinking, well, we need to increase the block size and drop fees as a Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what the model actually is, you absolute goon. But you knew that anyway. like honestly, I think they're going to start pointing the fingers of blame at each other sooner or later. That's what this is all about. I think we're seeing the collapse of it because they all knew. And look at that. He literally said, we changed the, what was it, the model? Here we go.
What we did during the block size war is we changed that whole dynamic. We changed the unit economics.
They changed the unit economics to one that failed. Small blocks, large transaction costs. Yeah, right. So who's going to use that with a large transaction cost? It's just so stupid. You need to make the system useful. Well, they've made it useless. And now he's like, oh yeah, we might have made a mistake. You know, what we should have done is increase the block size and reduce cost. Yeah, because more people come in. Because the supply is fixed, it makes it more valuable. That's the whole point. You know, if something is useful, it's valuable. If something is useless, it's worthless. And they can't tell me that they didn't know this. Because he even admitted everybody was saying it.
But I think at the time, everyone was thinking, well, we need to increase the block size and drop fees.
Yeah, everyone was thinking that except them. Yeah, all right, mate, whatever. And now listen to this. So he's asking, he goes, oh yeah, we're not sure about what the impacts are of what we've done. Well, have a listen. Outrageous.
Blind trust in developers is a huge risk because developers are fallible, right? There are things that we've done and changed in Bitcoin that I don't think we've fully analyzed the impacts of, right? Like, you know, Taproot or increasing the block weight from SegWit. That's also something that probably had a lot of impacts, right? Jimmy Song had a good take on it. He posted a video basically saying, we don't really know what the impacts are, right? There's like a bounty, and if you can, you know, abuse the covenant somehow and steal money, you'll win the bounty. But it's not really about that. It's like, what are the knock-on side effects? What are the longer-term implementations of changing the protocol in a fundamental manner?
Did you hear that? Changing the protocol in a fundamental manner. That's called a hard fork.
We have to question and look at the system more holistically and slow down on trying to change Bitcoin because it's a true
Look, they're actually trying to change Bitcoin. He's not even shy about it now.
$1 trillion asset now. And if we're not really careful, if we're not looking at all aspects, all impacts, you know, that can be catastrophic.
Yeah, because you'll put the price down to zero after turning it into an economically worthless security offering. $2 trillion up in smoke.
The majority of people using Lightning today are using custodial Lightning wallets run by, you know, big companies and service providers that are always online.
Always online. What it means, this massively centralized and central point of control. But look here, I've had to spell it out for him. The impacts are that you've securitized the network, removed any and all ability to lay claim, removed all contractual credibility and therefore all economic value, making it fundamentally worthless or a fundamentally worthless centrally controlled security offering. And there's nothing they can do about it. They can't go back. If you snap the branch on a tree and then you go back and try and fix it, it's never going to be like it was. And that's the central point of repair, which is a central point of control. Showing you that it's controlled. Can't be done. Once it's broken, that is it. It is gone. It's no longer the commodity that it once was. And check this out. So BlackRock are getting out ahead of the market. Look at this. Coin Bureau says BlackRock just sold 980 million BTC 5 hours ago. Or $580 million. So almost $1 billion. Look, BlackRock. And this is what IBIT. Is it Bitcoin ETF? Look, they're selling all the SegWit ones. All the SegWit. I wonder if this is anything to do with my video that I put out that had over 1 million views, because I went to actually see the guy whose profile it's on, and it's now 1.1 million. So even in just a few days between it hitting 1 million, it's now got over another 100,000 views. It's literally looks like it's going viral. Could this be the turning point? Like, who knows? But, you know, suspicious activity all around it. Let's see what this one. So BitCrash says Samson Mao agrees Segwit and Taproot were mistakes. These BTC maxis are all over the place. Yeah, and this ghost of whatever said correct Segwit was probably a mistake. Taproot definitely. So I've said, yeah, mistakes that can't be undone. Once the chain of signatures is broken, it's broken forever. That's $2 trillion and people don't even know it yet. Like, oof. Look at this. Orange Gateway saying, to clarify a request our community keeps bringing up, we are also waiting for money. Oh, that's going to be amazing. The money stablecoin on Orange Gateway. That is going to be absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. Couldn't help myself making this little meme. I said, that look you give the camera when Dr. Evil tells you Bitcoin is BTC. And I think Alex Farvel also zoomed in on that. Can you imagine? You're like, really? Is it? Dr. Evil here trying to sell you on the fact that he thinks that Bitcoin is BTC. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And this guy here, Elon Musk tweeted this guy. His post was, this is the biggest bubble I've ever seen. He goes, my brother in Christ, they were selling JPEGs of literal rocks for $5 million USD just 4 years ago. I remember this. Look at that. Investors are paying millions for virtual land in the metaverse. What a joke. What a joke. I think later on he comments and he's just like, you know, how fickle people are. Yeah. It was just, again, it was just more of a distraction away from Bitcoin. That's what all of this shit is. Just a pure distraction and nothing more. Nothing more. Right, let's get on to this bit. So what Bitcoin does said, update. After the Bitcoin Way guy dodged Satoshi's claim, the video uploader had to pin this due to so many people pointing it out. He used ChatGPT and confirms BTC isn't Bitcoin. Well, here it is. Look at that face. That's absolutely hilarious. Right, so here is the pinned reply. So let's go through this. He says, in this video, the question about legacy Bitcoin addresses was not answered. So we posed the question as follows to AI. And he said, so this was the question. There is a claim that the central banks have changed the protocol of Bitcoin from its original form, where all legacy addresses start with the number 1, and that today they don't start with that number. The claim is that the central banks colluded with exchanges to list their own central bank created currency that looks like the original Bitcoin and captured the Bitcoin price. But the legacy addresses no longer start with the number 1, and therefore it's not Bitcoin and hasn't gone through the original Bitcoin protocol. And that's the form of Bitcoin that today has the $115,000 market cap or price. Is this true? If yes, how do you check what form of Bitcoin you own and what impact does that have? Does it necessarily render your Bitcoin worthless? Response, here we go. So ChatGPT said, this claim is false. Really? It's a mix of misunderstanding about Bitcoin addresses and a conspiracy theory that doesn't match reality. Let me break it down in clear terms so you could explain it to someone who holds any Bitcoin. 1. What's true about Bitcoin addresses? Here we go. Legacy addresses are peer-to-peer key hash, I think. These are the original Bitcoin addresses that start with a number 1. For example, 1ABC. P2SH addresses introduced in 2012. So if they're introduced in 2012, they would have been introduced by Peter Wool as he was getting ready to create Segwit. So they said, long before any central bank collusion, nope, afraid not, Blockstream of the deep state technical team funded by the central banks. These start with a 3, for example, 3ABC. They were added to allow multi-signature and later Segwit compatibility. Right, so let's talk about multi-signature. The whole point of Bitcoin is that it produces common accountability. So no one could do anything on the network that nobody else would know about. And this is why Satoshi Nakamoto had to start the network himself individually under a pseudonym. It couldn't be a group of developers or a group of individuals. It has to be a single individual that makes that transaction. They are responsible for what they upload. So what you should never ever do is send any Bitcoin to a multi-signature address, because you don't know who you're sending it to. You know, they'll be, oh, it's him. No, it's not. It's him. Oh, it's them. No, it's not. It was these guys over here. It's not us. Nobody is taking accountability and responsibility for it, because it's a multi-signature address with multi-digital signatures on it. It should be one address, one digital signature, one individual behind that. So again, you shouldn't receive any Bitcoin from number 3 legacy addresses, because you don't know who you're receiving it from, because they're trying to obfuscate themselves. And you should never send to a multi-signature address, because you don't know who you're sending it to. So again, it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin addresses only start with the number 1. Don't send anything to a multi-signature address. It's not Bitcoin. And then ChatGTP continues. They said Bench32 or Betch32 addresses introduced in 2017 start with BC1. They're cheaper to use because they remove the digital signature from the transaction data, removing all claim and contractual credibility and therefore economic value. But they've said lower fees and more efficient. So addresses starting with 1 haven't disappeared. And again, the reason they haven't disappeared is because they didn't hard code in the 1 megabyte block cap. Because if they did hard code it in, they wouldn't be able to have the number 1 address. And also, the deep state need to give themselves plausible deniability. They'll say, we never forced you to use it. We just thought it was going to be better for you because you can fit more transactions in a block and it's cheaper because there's not as much data with it. But again, it's all plausible deniability. They always do this. This is how they roll. But, you know, ChatGPT won't know this because he's controlled by them. So they said, so addresses start with number 1 haven't disappeared. They're just not the only type anymore. What do you mean just not the only type anymore? That means they're not using the base layer. Yeah, and they're not following the Bitcoin protocol. End of. The new formats are upgrades. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, they're upgrades. That's right. No, they're changes, as Samson Mao just admitted. They improve a Bitcoin scalability and security. See, look, it's all absolute hogwash. Improves Bitcoin scalability. You've literally removed all contractual credibility and all economic value, making it an economically worthless security offering. And then they say, oh, so it's improve the scalability and security. You've just literally removed all security from it, as in like cryptographic security, because you've removed all contractual credibility. And therefore turned it into an economically worthless security. So therefore you don't need any crypto, you don't need any cyber security on anything that doesn't have any value. That's it, really. 2, the conspiracy claim about central banks. There is no evidence that central banks changed the Bitcoin's protocol or created a fake replacement coin that exchanges list. The Bitcoin protocol is open source. Any changes require consensus among thousands of independent nodes and miners across the world. Right, so they can be changed. And that's exactly what they did. They had to change their hashing algorithm in order to mine the SegWit protocol that stole the market price when they stole the ticker. That's it. If someone tried to secretly swap out Bitcoin for a fake version, it would be instantly noticed and rejected by the network. No, because it stole the market price, so therefore the miners accepted it. The Bitcoin you buy on legitimate exchanges is the same Bitcoin that has been running since 2009. That is false. It said just with new address formats available. Absolute bullshit. Utter bullshit. 3, how to check what kind of Bitcoin you own. Look at your wallet's receive address. If it starts with 1, it's legacy. If it starts with 3, it's a P2SH. Well, actually, it's a multi-sig address, and that's not Bitcoin. And if it starts with BC, Betch32 SegWit, again, not Bitcoin at all. They're the hard forks. Regardless of format, they all represent the same Bitcoin. No, they don't. On the same blockchain. No, they don't. It's just different encodings for spending conditions. Whatever. Your Bitcoin is not worthless if it doesn't start with 1. In fact, SegWit BC1 is often preferred today because of the lower fees. Not when people realize it's economically worthless. What you'd say to calm a panicked Bitcoin owner, something like this. Don't worry, your Bitcoin is real. I'd say actually you need to worry because your Bitcoin has got a market price at the moment. Better take advantage of it while you still can because it's going to 0. The reason addresses don't always start with 1 anymore is because the Bitcoin network added improvements over time, fundamental changes over time, as Samson Mao admitted, like SegWit, to make transactions faster and cheaper. All these address types are fully part of Bitcoin's original blockchain. No, they're not. No, they're not. How can they say that? That's utterly false. To central banks, no central banks swapped it out for something fake. You still own Bitcoin and it's just as scarce and valuable as it was before. Afraid not. All fundamental value is gone. The bottom line, they're saying Bitcoin still works exactly as it always has. The different address types are just upgrades, not replacements. Your Bitcoin is not worthless. It doesn't start with, if it doesn't start with number 1. Oh dear, they just don't know. They have no idea. Painful reading that. But I mean, look at the fear in his eyes. He's like, you know, he just is clueless. He said it's above his pay grade. Trying to explain it, mate. All you got to do is listen to my show, tune in. Right, let's have a quick look at the figures then. Oh, GregCoin taking a beating, 111,000. Bitcoin just at $24. Can you be? That's like 17 quid, something like that. It's crazy. Transactions 48%. Block size 77.9. Let's have a look at the blocks coming through. 11, 13, 9, 10, 15, 23, 12, 18. Nothing to write home about yet. Hash rate, yeah. Proof of work by now. But just thought actually. Bitcoin SV transaction 39,000 times cheaper to transact on Bitcoin than GregCoin. 0.6% more profitable to mine on Bitcoin over GregCoin. Let's have a look at the global. Have a look at the hash rate. Global hash rate 7 days, 24 hours. GregCoin hash rate other miners 6.94. Bcrash other miners 17.36. Fisher Price Cash other miners 63%, and CoinDance not showing the figures there. I just thought actually there's something I wanted to show you on my profile here. This is really important. This was Kurt educating Paul Barron TV. And this guy, Paul Barron, has got 100,000 followers. 100,000 followers, right? Let's have a listen to what he says here about SegWit. Really exciting stuff.
The only group that is doing any work on that, and admittedly I'm biased because I work in the BSV economy, but yeah, we're trying to solve that the massive scaling problems, and frankly we have solved that problem. We have the Terra node implementation of a Bitcoin node it's actually been released in private. It should have a public release sometime in October. Mm-hmm. What it allows is 1 million transactions per second in distributed consensus. Now, Visa on Black Friday has about 65,000 transactions per second.
There's nothing that needs that kind of throughput.
Correct. Unless you're trying to take over global payments. And so we see that as the final boss in Bitcoin. The way that Terra node works is you split out the monolithic aspect of a Bitcoin node, you break it into microservices, and you have people compete to provide all the various things that a Bitcoin node is capable of doing. And then that allows you to scale out things such that without doing any of the other Rube Goldberg Lightning Network stuff, everybody can do both small commerce and big commerce and lots of other things in the data economy. And that's it. I think that is the most exciting possible thing that can happen with the technology, because it allows it to become real for very real people, and it allows us to abstract kind of the techie nonsense out of it all. And I think that's how we win.
All right. Well, I mean, for that to happen, you would have to just think about all of the systems that would have to be on board with this. You'd have to go into global payment clearance, which is SWIFT. You'd have to look at the monetary applications of all the major G7s, which would be everything from gold to oil.
Yep.
You'd have the potential now of CBDCs / other Forex models that have to apply into this. And then you'd have DTCC, SEC, or excuse me, New York Stock Exchange, all of the different frameworks in terms of securities, much less what's happening within the markets that circle around that. So that would be a huge, I feel like that'd be like eating the elephant truly one bite at a time.
Yes.
In the sense of what that would take to shift.
There we go. I think Kurt literally blew his mind there. He was flabbergasted by what he just heard. And then after that, he sort of like tried to change the conversation onto AI, because he was just like, whoa, I've never heard anything like this before. And you heard him straight away and he goes, Yeah, when Kurt said 1 million transactions per second, he goes, there's nothing that would need that. Let's see if we can find that bit again.
Have a public release sometime in October. What it allows is 1 million transactions per second in distributed consensus. Now, Visa on Black Friday has about 65,000 transactions per second.
There's nothing that needs that kind of throughput.
See, nothing that leads that kind of throughput, because he doesn't understand how Bitcoin is going to absorb the entire internet. That's what it's about. It's blown his mind. He's never heard anything. He's never heard Bitcoin being spoken about like this before. See, he was like shaking his head. Nothing needs that.
Now, Visa on Black Friday has about 65,000 transactions per second.
There's nothing that needs that kind of throughput.
Oh yes, there is. When you realize what the objective is, he has no clue. He has no clue. Doesn't realize that there's a new internet being built. Like the world's first ever commoditized digital network that everybody can use for all of their own personal, private social media. Like, wow, that is massive, just massive. So yeah, chuffed to bits with that. Looking forward to the release next month. Actually, yeah. There was something else I wanted to bring up here. Let's have a look at the transactions. So it's just 501,000 transactions. So down into third place. Yep, third place, but still like ranked like 100. Yeah, in the 100 in the market cap. So took a beating against BTC GregCoin, but then just climbing a little bit. Shows the same on Orange Gateway of market manipulation. This is Gate.io with $170,000 turnover, and look, they sponsor Formula One. Gate.io. I mean, it's massive. I couldn't believe it. Like literally one of these, just a white label exchange. A white label exchange, because it's the same as everyone, all the others. You know, and yet, I mean, they must be bringing in a staggering amount. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. Yeah, there's something else I just wanted to bring up just quickly. Here we go, because this is also coming up. We got the dates here. Oh yeah. We'll just remind ourselves. There we go, that's the notice. So the Salomon Brothers notice said, this digital wallet appears to be lost or abandoned. Our client has taken constructive possession of it, so that it's already in their possession, and it seeks to determine if there is a bona fide owner. This legal notice is posted pursuant to and in compliance with applicable law, which is intended to provide an opportunity for the owner to claim property otherwise qualifying as lost or abandoned. The owner is provided 90 days to respond to this notice. In other words, an owner with a valid proof of ownership must respond before October the 5th, 2025. Not long now. Not long now. If no response is received, the digital wallet and their contents will be considered to be confirmed as abandoned. In sum, the lack of a response may be provided to a court as evidence, or the relinquishment of all rights, titles and interests in the digital wallets. This is an important legal notice, and rights could be adversely impacted if a bona fide owner of this digital wallet does not respond. But it's already in the possession. It's already in possession. Yeah, our client has taken constructive possession of it, and it seeks to determine if there is a bona fide owner. So they've already got possession of it. Which, if they have the possession of it, it means they have the private keys and the seed phrase. So how on earth did they get that? How on earth did they get that if they didn't own it in the first place? Really, nobody's going to lay a claim on it, and that finishes on October 5th. That's massive. That is massive. There we go. Just wanted to throw that in there. Some 365 days of Bitcoin history. On the 23rd of September 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto, aka Craig Wright, wrote, Bitcoin would be convenient for people who don't have a credit card or don't want to use the cards they have or are afraid of recurring billing. Another one of his famous quotes. Loving that. Right, there we go. Some 365 days of Bitcoin history. It is now the 23rd of September, and we're on day 5 of the Kellenschweiler count up. You know, you're not going to want to miss all the shenanigans that happen very, like, next month. I mean, Jeepers, we've got, you know, October the 5th is going to be a big one. And then we've got the blockchain conference coming up, October the 27th. And then we've got the release of Terranode, the public release, because it's already been released privately and it's working. It's going to be massive. So press the like button, hit subscribe. You're going to love it. And until then, be away, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
The king still has one more move.